Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Today we're going to be forging and machining this crankshaft, or this connecting rod actually. Crankshaft I didn't make. Before we get into it and before I start showing you guys the forging of this connecting rod, please note that it was 100 degrees out whenever I was forging. It was very hot. I didn't have shoes on and I was wearing shorts, khaki shorts that were cotton so they wouldn't catch on fire, but no, I was not wearing shoes. It was blisteringly hot. I don't recommend forging in barefoot or forging without shoes on. It's not safe, it's not smart, and I don't endorse it or recommend it in any way. So just know that I understand it's not the smartest thing, but I'm comfortable enough with forging, and I wasn't doing a lot of forging, so I wasn't worried about it, and you shouldn't be either. So with that being said, let's teleport back to yesterday, to whenever I was introducing you guys to what exactly we're doing. This here is the connecting rod that I'm going to replicate. I need to replicate the big end of this connecting rod and put it on this piece of steel. This is for the power hammer. The connecting rod will connect the crankshaft to the end of the beam and allow the hammer to reciprocate and function. My original plan was to take this connecting rod and modify it and essentially attach it to the end of a bar of steel, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized this really wouldn't be difficult to recreate, and also it would be far stronger and better for me to simply forge it in the end of a bar. I'm also going to drift it so that I can go straight to the boring head. I don't need to drill out the hole first, and also it will be stronger. I'm going to forge this in the small forge. I'm going to use fire bricks and essentially make a small propane forge rather than using the fire brick gravel. The reason for that is for bigger things like this, the gravel isn't very good. It moves around quite a bit and it loses a lot of heat, so I'm going to be using this. I used it yesterday to forge out a big spring for the hammer, and it works very well. I can get very isolated heat because it's a fairly small burner, and that's exactly what I need. I don't need to heat up a huge section of this bar. I only need to heat up maybe 6 inches maximum, and I'm only going to be working a couple of inches at a time. So let's get to it. I'll heat it up and I'll bring you guys to the anvil.
I was born on this mountain a long time ago, before they knocked down the timber and stripped mine the coal. And you woke up in the morning before it was light, and you go down in that dark hole and come back at night. And I was born on this mountain's my home.
So I've got the setup here at KMT. I took a level and got it flat, sort of aligned it in this direction. It is aligned in all other directions with the bar, the unforged portion of this steel bar. It used to be chunk of just standard keyed round stock for industrial equipment, and now I just need to bore it out to 1 inch. So turn the KNT on and do that.
But I will die on this mountain's my home. this mountain, but now I am old. And I knew every holler and cool swimming hole. Till one night I lay down and woke up to find that my childhood was over and went down in the mine. And I was born on this mountain, this mountain's my home. And she holds me and keeps me from worry and woe. Now they took everything that she gave, now they're gone. But I will die on this mountain's my home.
Well, we have the connecting rod here and the pipe chain vise. I went ahead and drilled these two holes here off camera. My phone was charging. All I did was take a 3/4 inch end mill and mill a flat on either side and then drill for a 1/4 inch bolt. I am kind of worried that this assembly here is just going to be too weak to really deal with the forces, because all of the force really is pushing down, is pulling down on this. But I went and I looked up values for how strong 1/4 inch bolts are and how strong this steel is and how strong this section of steel is, and theoretically this section can hold about 1,000 pounds, maybe 2,000 pounds. Now, practically speaking, I wouldn't put that much weight on here, but that does put my mind at ease. The way that this hammer is going to function means that instead of having a jar whenever it pulls the ram up, it's actually fairly gentle on the crankshaft, so I'm not as worried about it as I would be if it was a different style of hammer. Now what I'm going to do is take the other end of this, throw it in the lathe, turn it section down, maybe 8 inches of it, down to 3/4 inch, and then I will thread this in the pipe vise with the big 3/4 inch die that my neighbor gave me.
And there's a hole in this mountain, it's dark and it's deep. Oh, and Lord only knows all the secrets she keeps. And there's a chill in the air only miners can feel. And there are ghosts in the tunnels the company seal. And I was born on this mountain's my home. And she holds me and keeps me from worry and woe. And now they took everything that she gave, now they're gone. But I will die on this mountain's my home.
Well, it's about 10:30 at night now, so getting a little late. This is done. This is all 3/4 inch. And so now I have to thread it. To thread it, I use the beautiful Greenfield Tap and Die Corporation Little Giant made die set. These are very nice. These dies are adjustable, so if I wanted a smaller thread or a larger thread, I could adjust it. A big nut on the back holds these dies in place, It also guides dye. It's sad that we quit making dyes like this for hand threading. They're very, very nice. Much, much nicer than modern dyes, in my opinion. So I'll get this started and get back to you. Well, that end is all threaded. And now, the connecting rod is also done. Off camera, I split it in half. I didn't film it because my phone died and I wasn't able to get a lot of footage, but I measured my cutoff wheel, because I cut this in half with an angle grinder. I measured the cutoff wheel, and then I moved the boring head over the thickness of my cutting wheel. And then I think I added 5 thousandths to that. That way, whenever I cut it in half, I'd still have a 1-inch bore, and then I could still tighten it down, and my math was mostly correct. It is going to have to wear in for a little bit, but it does spin freely, very little play, and I'm pretty happy with it. I do need to, it does collide, well, no it doesn't. If this crankshaft is turned around, it will collide with this side, but if I have it in this orientation, it doesn't collide. Never mind. It doesn't hit the sides. One challenge I am facing with using an engine as for the crank and all that, and the bearings and such, is lubrication. See, the engine is usually a self-contained unit filled with oil that is splashed all around. There's a little tab that comes off the end of the connecting rod that splashes the oil all around. I can't really have that within the hammer because I cut the engine in half and it will splash all around the hammer and all around the ground. I'm not really worried about it getting on the hammer, but I don't want it to just throw all of its oil out within the first couple of blows. So what I think I'm going to do is, for the two main bearings, the 7/8 inch bearing and the 1-inch bearing, I'm going to put grease zerks in. That way I can grease it directly and they can be greased. In this application, I think grease would be a better option than oil because it's a low RPM, high load situation. And the grease is going to stay better than the oil. For the connecting rod, I have a very long 5/16 inch drill bit, and I think I will drill essentially through the center of this up as far as I can go, really, and then put a grease zerk on the connecting rod itself. That way there's basically a tube of grease that feeds directly into the bearing. That should help keep things relatively clean and and well lubricated. So that's what I'm going to do, and now I'll show you guys the hammer itself and show you guys the progress I've made on it and show you how exactly this fits into the mechanism. So this here is the power hammer as it sits. The beam is essentially done. There's still a couple of things I need to do to it. I need to fully weld on this bushing and machine it. I need to put a rear bushing on it. This beam is basically what's going to control the ram. The ram, as you might recall, is going to go here. This used to be a chunk of round stock in here. I cut it off with an angle grinder, and then for the way itself, I'm going to put a chunk of angle iron on. That way I have a relatively straight way for the ram to be guided by. This is a strap type hammer, and therefore there will be a strap that goes between these two holes that will attach to the ram. This here is the ram. It's been machined, dovetail dies. I will have to do some work to be able to attach a strap to this because I can't attach a strap directly to that. I actually have to make some ears that come down put a bar that the strap can attach to. The connecting rod itself is going to go into that engine case, which will sit back here. That'll be well supported, better supported than it is now. Sorry, wasps everywhere. And the connecting rod will connect the crankshaft to the rear of the beam. Where exactly it's going to connect, I don't yet know, but it will. This system here, these two springs are going to basically act as my cushion. Bradley helve hammers, they have two rubber cushions that cushion the beam as it reciprocates. And instead of doing that, I'm going to use these two springs. They'll do the same thing. So that is the progress on the power hammer. I was starting to get swarmed by wasps. We have a couple of wasps nest over there that would need to be dealt with. This connecting rod here should serve me quite well. I am still worried about a couple of minor things. That front spring, the arched spring on the front of the hammer, I'm kind of thinking that's a bit too weak. I'm also worried about the end of this connecting rod being too weak. Luckily with the Bradley helve hammer, Bradley strap hammer system, again, watch some videos of it. It's there's not as much shock transferred into the mechanical systems as there is with other hammers. So I don't know. These parts, they're very easy to recreate and remake. So if they do break, I'll just make another that is stronger. And if that spring ends up flexing, I can just forge out another spring. I am going to use them as is until they have proven that I'm not going to replace them before they break or before they perform poorly. So we'll see how it goes. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Also, check me out on Instagram. My Instagram is Hidden World Forge. I post very regularly on there. There's a lot more content on there, and there's more regular updates if you're interested in the journey of this power hammer, or just you want to see what in the world I'm doing at any given time. So again, thank you for watching, and have a good day.